Excellent. I'm Rob Spearman with Realty One Group Philippines, and it's great to be all with you today. And we have June Ray. June Ray, how are you doing with
I'm, I'm doing good, Rob. Thank you.
terrific? And June Ray, share a little bit about what you do with for the Realty One Group Philippines.
Hey, Rob. I'm Patrick. I'm the franchise development for Realty Wonder Philippines. I'm connecting with real estate broker who owns a brokerage here in the Philippines who wanted to scale up their business. We wanted to help them outgrow their business through, our powerful, marketing and branding system, providing with the help that they need. So yeah, we're here today and we wanted to share some ideas and how we can help the brokers here in the Philippines.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you do a great job aligning independent brokers with the Realty One Group franchise. And we have offices, our very first office, Realty One Group Upgrade in BGC. Excellent ownership, excellent agents. Baguio City, Realty One Group Mark Pro. And they have their grand opening today, this afternoon. Last night we had the celebration dinner with 18 fabulous brokers and salespeople. They're a wonderful group, highly motivated, and they work super, super hard. And next week, June Ray, you and I will be meeting in Davos City for Realty One Group ICP that goes live on, what is that, February the 9th?
The eighth.
I think it's the 9th. They moved it to Monday.
Oh, okay.
hmm And that will be our third Realty One Group office in 1 year that have opened. And then Realty One Group Preferred in Makati will be coming online with Vivian in in a few months. And Irene is the broker owner in Davos City. So we're very excited.
Yes.
Now, if you aren't following us on Facebook or YouTube channel, do reach out to those and follow us or subscribe. The other announcement that I wanted to let everyone know is we have something pretty special next year, or this year in November, the 4th of November, is we're doing a 1 day event called One Talks, and it's going to be at One Ayala, and we have Kuba, the founder of Realty One Group. He is going to be here and presenting. Corey, who is our president or international president, she will be here. And other senior leaders from Realty One Group from the US will be coming. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to have a great agenda. It will be inspiration, it will be training, it will be fun. Maybe we'll have some dancing and singing mixed into it. So, our events are fun, lively, and lots of laughter and excitement. And you'll walk away knowing a lot of stuff, learning a lot of information. So keep an eye out for that. That's November 4th this year, One Ayala in Makati, I believe that is. And today we have uh, Pat, Patrick McDowell, who is phenomenal at business planning. He works with agents exclusively internationally, and he helps them plan their businesses. And as a broker or a real estate salesperson, you have your own business. You're operating your own business inside your broker's Realty One Group brand. And this, and so when you operate a business, you really have to kind of manage it and plan it like a business. And Patrick is one of the best in the industry, and we're really fortunate to have him share his valuable time today. Uh, and Patrick, thanks for coming on board. Thanks for doing this. We're very excited to learn from what you have to offer us today.
Yeah, well, back at you. I'm really excited to be here. Grateful for the opportunity, and so good to meet you, June Ray, and Rob as well, to be working with you. It's what an exciting time going on in the Philippines with Realty One Group. So exciting, and the growth that you're experiencing is super exciting too. So I'm grateful just to get the chance to be on today for a little bit of time and talk about treating your business like a business, kind of like what Rob just mentioned, being that business owner, so to speak, whether you are that broker owner or the agent salesperson. I'm excited to speak to you today. I do have something to say. Magadang Umaga, good morning to you, and wherever you're tuned into from across the country, grateful to be here with you. I'm here in Kansas City. I live kind of in the smack dab in the middle of the United States. And I live in a very charming historic town. Was built back in 1822, so it's got a lot of history. And I don't know if you know a whole lot about weird United States culture, but we are known where I live in this little community as the first daylight bank robbery. Is that something worth being proud of? I don't know about that. But Jesse James, the outlaw, allegedly had some history here. So anyway, is that a good thing? I don't know. They've got that on all of our tourism marketing. So who knows? But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself as we go. I figured we would spend maybe about an hour and a half together today. We'll be finished up by around 11:30 and give you the chance to interact with me. I know that June Ray is monitoring the chat and the Q&A feature as well. So if you want to interact with me as we go, I'd love that. Just like Rob just posted in the chat there. I'm going to be paying close attention to it as we go. And Rob and June Ray are going to help me do it as well. But anyway, that's my intro. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself as we go along today too. But what do you think, Rob? Are we ready to hit it out of the park today?
Mhm.
I
Let's do
like
it.
I like it. All right, I'm gonna pull up my correct screen and share a little presentation to you. I believe, Rob, that everybody has access to our business planning workbook. Am I right when I say that?
Yes, they
I
should. And if not, Powell will make sure we have it sent out to the owners and the brokers and
Very good.
sales.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
I love it. Yeah. Again, so grateful to be here with you. And one of the things that you have access to from being with me today is kind of the start of a business planning workbook. And so you'll be able to implement a lot of the things that we talk about today. And that will be an important key. It's one thing to have this conversation and to come up with these great ideas that we might be inspired with today, but it's also important to go out and implement the items that we're talking about as we go on. And that's why at the bottom of my intro screen, even you see those words, strategize. That's what we're here doing today. Next step would be implementation. Now that is in your hands to accomplish. And then finally, as we see results from it, we succeed. And so that's the important part of business planning. And I'm excited. We're here at the beginning of a brand new calendar year, the opportunity to make it whatever you make it. It's up to you and me to come up with the plan for how we're going to live our lives. And as real estate agents and brokers, we have the unique opportunity of deeply impacting the people in our community while also building a beautiful business for ourselves. So we're impacting families all around us. We're impacting our own family by the opportunity to have this business. And that's what really fires me up and inspires me about the real estate industry as a whole. I started in real estate when I was 19 years old. That was about 14 years ago at this point. And I was an agent for many years. I had the great opportunity to become a broker where I oversaw agents in an office very similar to some of the ones that you're a part of. And then I had a great opportunity to transition into the director of education with a large brokerage in my area. And a lot like you, at some point in life, you started to think, okay, what's next for me? What do I want to do with my life? And that's where I launched out my own real estate coaching program. And that's why maybe on that business planning packet you see Coach Pat, that's me. And that's what I do full time. I help agents and brokers all over the place plan for their future and stay accountable to the goals that they're coming up with. And that's what we're going to be talking about for the next little while. So again, very grateful to be here with you all the way from across the world and excited to interact with you as we keep going. I'm going to show you some slides as we talk, and they correlate really well with the business planning packet that I've given you access to, whether you're able to access it right now while you're watching, or maybe after the fact when Paulina is able to send it out to everybody as well if you still need a copy of it. Today, we're really talking about charting the path forward, reflecting on where you've been, but also discovering what you want to do this year. You've got a whole year in front of you. And if you think to yourself, what do I want my year to look like? What do I want the transaction count or the number of families that I've served or just the impact that I'm able to have in my community? That's what business planning is. So, business planning, you don't have to have a special degree for it, although it is helpful to have a good degree. But you don't have to have a huge special background in numbers or finance or a business degree to be successful in business planning. I can meet you right where you are and help you plan out exactly what you're looking to accomplish this year. And that's what we're going to be doing. So you see some of the words on the slide. That's what we're going to be talking about for the next little while. I also want to just highlight some of what I do. I mentioned to you that I've been in real estate now for 14 years. It's an industry that has changed so many lives. Mine is one of those. I started out with few connections in the community. I was involved locally. I didn't know a whole lot about business, but through the years of being able to master my craft in real estate, I'm now able to interact with agents and brokers like you and make a profound difference in your lives, hopefully. And that's the beautiful thing about this real estate industry. It can go in so many different paths, like you see even Rob doing, and expanding his reach all across the world as well. And yes, I see the chat. So thanks, Rob, for turning that on. Throw us something in there. Let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know that. And that way we can make sure it's working. I see you there. Awesome. Very good. All right. I love it. I also want to brag a little bit about Realty One Group because what an incredible movement that you all are a part of. And part of business planning is recognizing the strengths of an entity that's larger than yourself. And so by aligning with Realty One Group, like you've all chosen to do, you have this unique opportunity to even more profoundly impact your clients and your customers while you're working with them. Now, that is a difference maker, yeah? Recognizing the fact that you're part of something bigger than just yourself. You have this incredible brand with marketing power behind you. It has the framework for being successful as an agent. And hey, look at us today. Here we are with Rob and the broker owners investing in you by having this mastermind basically every month. Rob had showed me the lineup for the rest of the months coming forward. And man, this brokerage is pouring into you. Realty One Group is giving you everything you need to be successful. And I think that's a huge bragging moment about what you've chosen to align with. It's also something that's important to know when you're out in the marketplace, when you're working with your clients and your customers, to recognize that, wait a minute, there's something unique about me. I'm part of Realty One Group. I can use the power of that branding when you're marketing to people that are working with you or people that you're trying to interest into your business when you're out prospecting. Those are all things to keep in mind and lean into. And keep that in mind as you're marketing yourself. We'll talk about some of those ideas as well as we go. It's very neat to see where so many of you are from in the chat. Thanks for including that in there and keep interacting with me as we go. And so I don't know, I just thought it might be interesting for a couple of minutes. Maybe Rob, you can highlight some as well. But maybe in the chat, what are some big difference makers of being part of Realty One Group? Why does it matter that you have aligned with this brand in the way that you have? Can you think of anything that would be helpful to highlight as we're planning out our business early in the year? Feel free to plop something in. And Rob, I think that's a great conversation starter. What comes to mind as a big difference maker for you when you think of Realty One Group for an agent in the Philippines? Coaching, I agree with that. Yeah, you mentioned that in the chat. And for sure, here we are doing that today. What a unique opportunity to have somebody that's taking your business possibly to the next level, or maybe just keeping you accountable to the goals that you set out for. Rob mentioned technology in the chat. What a powerful thing to have access to. And sometimes in real estate, and I'm sure it's the way in your world too, where you realize, wow, there's so much technology to take advantage of. How can I make sense out of all of it? And what we've recognized is that Realty One Group does an incredible job of embracing the technology that matters and focusing on training their agents and brokers to be really good at those skills and those tools instead of the items that can become distractions. I work with agents and brokers all the time that just maybe have what we call shiny object syndrome. Have you ever heard of that? Maybe it's something that I made up, but we get distracted. We see some new cool piece of technology and boom, it becomes a distraction to us and we lose time that we could be spending with our clients. And so being part of a brand that embraces technology but also recognizes which pieces of it are the most valuable to you, I think that's an incredible thing too. So keep thinking as you develop your plan this year and really over the next several days and weeks. What is it about Realty One Group that sets you apart? What is it that you can take advantage of that others in your marketplace don't have access to? Not to necessarily beat the competition, but think of it as a way of how you're able to impact more families and more people in your community by embracing these tools. And one more thing comes to mind when I think of tools and technology. How can you better maximize your time? How can you better use your time, better maximize your productivity, and therefore increase your hourly rate of compensation? That's something important to keep about as a business owner as well. Now, that's a good one, MJ. Let's see who I got to. For some reason on my chat, I only have initials instead of full names. But yeah, Mark Joseph, you mentioned the 100% model. Wow, what a difference that is. Yeah. That's not that way everywhere. And so the compensation model of the money that you're able to bring in yourself and serve your family, what an incredible thing to be part of that. Irene mentioned the culture. I love that. The culture is a really important piece of Realty One Group. So I just thought maybe highlighting these things early in our conversation today would be helpful to you and maybe inspire you a little bit about where you've gone. If you've got access to the business planning workbook with me today, we're on page 3, and I'm not sure that it's necessarily numbered page number, but you do have access here to this page that talks about what went well, what maybe could have used improvement, and what are you going to change next year. I want to inspire you. I want you to maybe envision for just a second what life is like when you have a written business plan. And there are some studies out there that tell us that the agents that and brokers that have written business plans are actually 3 times more likely to not only set but achieve meaningful goals. You'll see that on the slide there in front of you. So what are we doing today? Well, we're going to forecast what we want to do in the future, but also reflect on what went well, what could use improvement, and maybe what's going to be different in the future. So if you have that packet, we might spend a little bit of time working on that together today. And maybe I'll give you some ideas. You'll leave here this session with some decent ideas of what you can do in the future to better plan. But today is meant to be a really kind of a high level overview of business planning, where when you get off of this Zoom call, you're able to go out and use the workbook that I've given you, come up with a deeper plan, work with your leadership, and really stay accountable to those goals all year long. So think about to yourself, what went well? Can you think of something in your business that went well? Maybe you'll throw something in the chat for me of something that you're really proud of in your real estate business so far this year. For me, I'm trying new things. What about you? Anybody on the call trying anything new? I've been finding new ways to market myself. I've also been more bold or more brave in the way that I market myself and my real estate business. Maybe that relates to you. I'm proud of that. And yeah, throw something in the chat of something that you think went really well, something that was successful, what contributed to maybe a transaction this year. And Joanna, we'll make sure that we get that book to you as well, sent out if we don't have it. Irene, you're expanding. Okay, I like that. And innovating, those things went well. That'd be interesting to know if you're comfortable sharing something that is new and innovative for you in your business. What is that went well? While you're thinking about it, what went well for you, I also think what didn't go well. Is there anything that maybe I won't call you out on, but is there anything that maybe you and I should recognize individually that didn't work too well this year? I can think of things in my own life. I could think of maybe ways that I could have communicated better or been a little more responsive to somebody that was needing something from me. Or maybe there's times that I could have just been better at embracing something new. Maybe I let something bother me that I shouldn't have, or maybe that I didn't have any control over with to begin with. And so maybe that's something I could recognize didn't go well. Sometimes when we do this exercise, we realize that we can easily come up with things that we didn't do well. It's pretty easy to come up with those sometimes about ourselves. Do you ever feel that way? But it's also important to know that, okay, I came up with 10 or 15 things maybe that didn't go well, but what could I recognize that did go well this year? And could it be a small win? Could it be something that seemed minute in the moment, but was actually worth celebrating? That's something that's important to recognize too. And I can think a lot of those. I can think of little wins that happen throughout the week that, you know what, they compound to a big effect by the end of a year. So recognizing what could have changed, that's important, but also recognizing what did go well so you can keep a positive mindset about this business. Because I know that probably the way that it is around me is the way that it is around you, where we might be dealing with a tough client who just is not meshing with our personality, or maybe something didn't go well in a transaction, and we're thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have changed? Well, at the end of the day, we have to recognize that things happen. We've got to learn from those mistakes and use those as lessons, but also recognizing what did go good. What am I good at? So that way you can continue forward. Sometimes I'll work with agents and brokers that just get really, I would say, bent out of shape. They just really let something bother them that went wrong in their business. Has that ever happened to you? I think of things in my life that maybe I held on for too long, maybe a deal that fell apart and canceled or didn't end up closing. Well, okay, that could really derail the rest of my week or my month or even half of the year if I let it. But if I recognize what happened, go back to my list of things that went really well in the last year. That's the power of self-reflection, like we're doing here on this page. Collaboration, okay, I like this. Yes, Mitch, thank you for sharing that. Expanding globally, how exciting, Irene. That is really neat. Networking and collaborating, new connections. Now, you all are really good at coming up with things that went really well. So congratulations, you already got this part down. And now let's think for a second, what will you do differently this year? 2026 is here. What will you do differently? Is there a new piece of technology that you might embrace? Is there a Realty One Group piece of technology or tool that you know you still need to learn, you know you still need to attend some training on? Is there something like that that maybe you could do differently? I'll ask you that and maybe think of what you could do. AI tools, that'd be really interesting, Pam. I agree with you. What AI are you utilizing to better maximize your time? Are there things that you could be doing with AI? And so think of a use of AI. Does somebody have one that you could plop in the chat for me of something that you would use AI for, or maybe that you want to learn to use more for in the new year? Is there something that you can come up with? I'd love to hear what you might think about using it for. I'm working with agents and brokers all the time that are using AI to become more productive. They can take an activity like maybe some marketing messages, and what used to take an hour of time for them to come up with those marketing campaigns, now they're able to come up with the wording, customize it a little bit, right? It's not always going to sound like us, but can we change our marketing messages and make it more efficient by mastering AI? That'd be interesting to know. You mentioned, Job, an automation for making contracts and marketing messages. That's interesting too. Yeah. I work with a coaching client who's a broker owner that has embraced a technology tool that will check their contracts for them when they've written the contract. And we know that contract compliance is such an important piece of what we help our clients do. And they're utilizing AI to be that first layer of defense with their contracts to make sure that things are the way that they're supposed to be. And so that'll be something interesting to keep an eye on, whether Realty One Group embraces that or that becomes something that's happening locally in your market. That will be very interesting to see how some of that technology changes. Now, in my market, probably very similarly as yours, consumers have started to catch on to AI tools, yeah? And so when we use it for marketing messages or we use it for coming up with campaigns that are going to be emailed out or on social media networks, we have to be careful that it doesn't seem like AI. And we also have to be careful that the AI is accurate with what we're putting out there. And so those are just kind of words for the wise when we're utilizing AI, artificial intelligence, to make sure that you're putting out accurate information. In my area, real estate agents and brokers have to take regular continuing education classes where they have certain topics that they have to take classes on. One of them is fair housing, which is basically assuming that and ensuring that as many people in the community are able to obtain home ownership as possible. And there are so many AI tools that just get it wrong. when I put in something about a fair housing topic that may or may not relate to business that you're doing, there can be information that comes back that's completely misaligned with the real laws and rules that are in place that I need to be teaching. And so just always be conscious of the double checking AI tools as if they maybe were your personal assistant or somebody that you had hired, maybe that you would double check them as if they were that person. I use the phrase trust but verify. That might be a way to think of it. Kerwin mentioned alignment in the chat. Okay, what will you do differently? Alignment. Alignment's really important, yeah? Now, aligning with your brand, like Realty One Group, would be important, yeah? Or are there ways that you could become better at that? I also think of alignment with yourself. Do you ever think of it that way? Is there something that you could do better mindset wise, like positivity in your mind and in your thoughts that help you better align with yourself? When you wake up and you get energized, ready to go for the day, kind of like we did today, maybe we were excited to hop on this call and to learn from somebody that you've never heard of before. Well, okay, that's aligning yourself with something new. And if you ever want to know what your life is going to be like in 5 years, look at the words that you're saying about yourself today. Aligning your own thoughts and your own positivity with you is your future. And so words have what would you call maybe creative power? Yeah, the words that you put out into the universe, whether they're positive or negative, are going to impact you. And so, Helena, thanks for posting that in. And if you need that workbook, I'll give you a second here to maybe click that link that she threw in the chat, and it opens up into a document that you can look at with me today. We're just here at the beginning of it, so if you're just now getting it, you haven't missed anything. But I just want to pause and say, okay, anything else about business reflection that maybe is worth sharing here? Feel free to share with me as we continue the conversation today. I love that. Yeah, feel free to plop something in the chat as we keep talking. But hopefully you've had the chance to pull that up and get it looking up on your screen, and maybe eventually you can have the printed out version to utilize as well and get started on your business plan. Kevin mentioned in the chat he's going to be working on the new year on real connection and building trust and genuine service. Those are all things that really matter to our business. And I love those. Completely agree with you. Building trust is so important. You know, decisions in real estate move at the speed of trust. Have you ever heard that phrase? The decisions that our clients make only happen when they fully trust us as agents and brokers. And the agents that we work with, if you are that broker owner, only choose to align with us when they trust us. And so our whole business relies on the speed of trust. And you can think of it maybe in your own life, ways that you've marketed yourself and just have not seen results from it. I can think of those experiences in my own marketing. But then I think about the meaningful connections, like what Kevin talked about, those real connections or real conversation starters that you're having with people that are in what we would call your sphere of influence, those people that you know. Those people already know you. They already like you. And most of all, they already trust you. And so they're going to be more likely to work with you. Those are your best marketing people that you could choose to market yourself to, would be those people in what we call our sphere. Sometimes you'll hear that, your circle of influence, just those people that know you. And that's a great tool at the start of the year, a great thing to do. And what you could do differently is to better recognize the people that recognize you. In my world, I want as many people to think of me when they think of real estate. When they think of buying or selling, or if they think of getting into the real estate industry as a career, I immediately want to be that person that they think of. Isn't that your goal? That way, when somebody thinks of you, there's no question of one of the many, many other agents in your marketplace. But instead, it's you. There's no question of who they would work with. And like Kevin called out to us, that all starts with trust. And so remember that phrase, real estate, it moves at the speed of trust. That's one of my key phrases for the year, to recognize that building trust is so important. As we keep talking, I want to help you recognize yourself a little bit. And so if you've got the workbook, I've got this page that has kind of 4 squares on it, and it's the same 4 that you see on the screen here today. And if you're thinking out loud, or maybe you're going to write some of these things down in maybe a notebook that you have, or maybe you've had the chance to print this workbook out, or are going to, it's a great exercise to really recognize how you see yourself and then how others see you on the other side. And we're going to talk about those two just for a few minutes. And then we're going to go to the bottom of the page and talk about, okay, the best brokers are this. Meanwhile, the worst agents and brokers are this. We're going to have a little reflection on that. And I think there's going to be some aha moments as we work on this together. I hope that anyway. And I just know that you're smiling at the screen with me, right? Like you're looking at me thinking, this is so good. I love this guy. Patrick is great. Is that what you're thinking right now? Or is it just me? No, I think it's you too. All right. Am I too cheesy? I'm a little cheesy sometimes, but that'll be all right. All right, so think about how you see yourself, and this is pretty easy. In real estate, I see myself as trustworthy. Yeah, what about you? I see myself as communicative. Like I'm easy to get a hold of most of the time. I also think of myself as okay, well, knowledgeable. What about you? Are you knowledgeable on the industry and the things that you're good at? Well, for sure. I also think of myself as forward thinking. Do you know what I mean by that? Like I'm on the cutting edge. When there's a new piece of technology or there's a new way of doing business that might make my life easier, I have an open mind about it. What about you? Are you open to trying new things and ways of doing business that maybe you've never thought of before? That's how I see myself. Now, for a second, I also think about how others see me. And so if I had to do a critical thinking moment and think, okay, how do other people in the world see me? Well, I would hope they see me as what, a little funny, maybe a little stylish. What about you? I don't know. But in real life, I'm also thinking, okay, others see me as trustworthy. Well, I thought that about myself. I see others that want to see me as a good communicator. Okay, I see that about myself. Are there any gaps, though? Are there things that people might see about you that maybe you haven't recognized in yourself? Sometimes I'll have agents or brokers that tell me, I just feel unorganized. I'm not really organized in my day. I don't even really know what I'm doing day to day. I'm kind of treating this as maybe what I would call a hobby instead of a business. Maybe somebody can resonate with that today. And if that's the case, okay, do others see that see you as that? Or actually do others see you as really organized and well put together? So sometimes the lesson here is that we're harder on ourselves than others are. And there's also this rule of thumb that if you wouldn't say what you're thinking about yourself, if you wouldn't say that thought out loud to somebody else, then it's probably not a great thought to have about yourself to begin with. So if in my mind I wanted to beat myself up mentally and say, gosh, I'm just such a mess. I don't even know my schedule for the day. I'm terrible at this. Okay, well, if I wouldn't say that outwardly to somebody, voice to voice, well, then it's probably not the right thing to say about yourself. Can you see that to be true? And just like Irene said in the chat, how you see yourself is so important because this business, it wears people down. Does it ever wear any of us down? I feel like it does. But we have to remember the impact that we're having in our marketplace, in our communities, really even at a bigger scale, at our brand with Realty One Group. What's the difference that we're making? Well, it's in the power of your hands. You have that power. And so how you see yourself is very important. So the lesson as you fill this page out, and I'm really good at filling time with just words, so maybe I drag it on a little too long. But I think of, okay, is there any gap between how others see you and how you see yourself? Or is there something that you see about yourself that others would never recognize? Well, then that might be an indicator that you're being tough on yourself in that particular department, let's say. On the bottom of the page there with the four squares that we're looking at here on the slide, it talks about the characteristics of the best and the worst agents and brokers. And I don't know, this would be a fun one for you to plop a couple things in the chat. Give me some characteristics of like the best agents and brokers in your marketplace. And it's kind of also fun to think, okay, if I'm not thinking about myself, who is the best real estate agent or broker in my marketplace? If it wasn't me, who would it be that's my top choice? I don't know. Think of maybe somebody in your marketplace. Does somebody come to mind? Immediately, I can think of somebody that, oh, they're the best. They're the best of the best in this town that I live in. What about around you? Ease of doing business and grounded. I love that, Job. And that's a great one to be able to it's easy to do business and to interact with those agents. It just rolls smoothly. We know those people in our marketplace. The best agents are always showing up, that's for sure. I like that, Irene. What's another character trait of a really great agent or a broker? Maybe somebody that is easygoing and grounded, like we mentioned in the chat. or maybe somebody that responds to communication effectively. I know in my market, sometimes we have agents that are really difficult to get a hold of. And that makes the transaction very, very difficult. Just like Ronald was saying, being a good communicator is the trait of a great agent. I love yours, Irene, always smiling. Sometimes we've got to work on that, don't we? But I bet Irene's always smiling. That's going to be a goal of mine to smile more in the new year. I'm smiling on the inside, but I just have to show the world about it. Yeah, sometimes my face doesn't match my personality, I guess. But yeah, I like that. Respond quickly. Yeah, I like that, Kevin. Good communicator, positive aura. Ooh, that's a good one. Ah, Jorlin, enthusiastic. Jorlin Joy, I like that. Very good. Okay, now let's flip cards for a second and think about what are the characteristics of the worst agents in the marketplace. Can you come up with any of those? What's something that agents that are just ugh, you just kind of sigh when you know that you have to come across one of them and you're like, oh no, not this person again. We don't have to call them out. But are you thinking of anybody that you think of as just being less than great? Yeah, Kevin, the opposite of what we were talking about. Yeah, unresponsive. Nonchalant, Geraldine Joy, I like that. Yeah, like, who cares? My job doesn't really matter. What's the point? Kind of like that. Yeah, nonchalant. That's interesting. What's another phrase of some of the worst agents? Condescending. Yeah. Give me a line that a condescending agent would use. I know one for me. I mentioned to you that I started out in real estate very young. That's hard. And so when I would work with other agents, I came across as confident. I came across as knowing what I was doing. But there were also those agents and brokers that would say, I've been doing this 35 years. Don't you know how to do this my way? Okay, well, no, at 19 years old, I didn't. And so we have to be maybe more gracious in our industry to know that not everybody has the same experience level that you and I do. So condescending, that's what that made me think of. Yeah. Irene, overconfident. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that. Communication's the key. There's also agents that I think of negatively that are money hungry. Have you ever met an agent that's money hungry? Now, don't get me wrong, money is an important part of the business that we're in, right? Like we wake up every day, we go to work to be able to make a living and support our families. But also, you can think of an agent who money is the sole driver in their decisions. Can you think of somebody like that? In my marketplace, I can think of deals that had fallen apart because of the agent's goal of getting to the closing table. They were only focused on their transaction and their income without remembering that it's the client that really is the decision maker. It's really the client that, because of them, we're able to generate income. That's important to keep in mind too. And then a good agent, I like that, respectful and skilled. Skilled, yes, I like that. Yeah, Irene, you're thinking exactly what I was thinking, a transactional agent, somebody who's only worried about the end result, the transaction, and not the relationship that's being had during the transaction. That's a negative. Now, have you ever caught yourself being any of these things that we've talked about as being a negative? And you don't have to tell me, but just in your mind, have you ever caught yourself being hard to get a hold of with communication? Have you ever caught yourself being focused on the end result of a commission rather than the relationship that's happening? Just think to yourself, has that ever happened? Or is it easy to let that happen? I think it could be. And that's how easy it is to, boom, flip the tables in our business. Like immediately we could remember, wait a minute, we might do this job a certain number of hours a week, but we have to remember the client and the customer that we're working with, they're doing it a very few times in their whole lifetime. In my marketplace, the average homeowner sells a home every 3 years. I'm sorry, 3 times in their life. That's every 10 years, every once in a while. But some of them go sometimes 10, 15, 20 years without a real estate transaction. And so my stat, I'll say it again because I kind of messed it up. In my area, the average person sells a home 3 times in their whole life. And so you'll know your market better than I do. But it's also important to remember that the people that we're working with go through this transaction very rarely. It's a very special moment for them in their lives, and remembering that is key. So yeah, I saw some conversation about the workbook, and it's up there a little bit. If you'll look, I know that Paulina shared it up there. It was about 30 minutes after the hour, the timestamp on that chat. If you want to find that, just scroll up a little bit in the chat, and we'll go up there. I like that. Oh, I like that line, Irene. Sales is a transfer of emotion. I like that. Oh, there you go, Rob. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, John. If you just were able to get on, it might have not been visible for you. That's probably why. But very good. Now, you can see the words on the bottom of this slide. I'm just going to read them out. And it says the gap between how you see yourself and how others see you often reveals blind spots. We talked about some of those blind spots a few minutes ago. And the best agents work to align their self-image with the professional that they want to become. And so that I think is hopefully a great takeaway with what we've been talking about. I'm going to go to this next slide and just think about having a positive mindset. A few of us have mentioned that as being important. And I think as we start out the year, we sometimes have to remind ourselves of who we are, who we believe us to be. And that's what I'm going to talk about just for the next few minutes. I mentioned a line earlier that the way that you talk about yourself is what you are. That's what you're becoming. And so I use the phrase, if you want to know what your life is going to be like in 5 years, well, just listen to the words that you're saying about yourself and your family. And so a positive mindset is so important. In the workbook, I've listed out 20 different affirmations that you can take advantage of. And I'm going to say them out loud and maybe help us embrace these a little bit. And you'll have to just read along with me to yourself as well. I have a few of them on the screen, but in the workbook, I have a whole list of them. And I just want you to maybe resonate with these as I speak them out loud. It says, today is great because I choose to make it great. Referrals come to me easily and often. I'm financially independent. I'm kind, generous, and thoughtful. I expect to win, and I do. I live my dreams. I empower everyone around me. I achieve my goals. Opportunities always present themselves to me. I surround myself with positive, successful people. I'm disciplined, therefore, I achieve my goals. I'm self accountable, therefore, my business grows. Money and abundance flow freely to me. Sellers trust me to price their homes or their properties right. Buyers find it a joy to work with me. I add people daily to my sphere of influence. I visualize setting appointments and I set them. I sense the proper time to ask closing questions. That's the question that helps somebody move toward making a decision, a closing question. I always ask for referrals because I prospect, I set appointments. I am brave and courageous. I'm a leader. I'm organized and disciplined. I'm enthusiastic. People are attracted to my positive energy. How about some of those? So, those are the affirmations that are in our workbook. And they're more than just words on a page. They're more than just thoughts that we have. That these are what we want to be. We want to aspire to be some of the things that are on here. But when you tell yourself something out loud, and there is science behind it. If you say an affirmation out loud 3 times, just to yourself, doesn't have to be anything anybody else knows that you're doing. You could say that affirmation out loud. Today is great because I choose to make it great. Today is great because I choose to make it great. Again, today is great because I choose to make it great. When you do that, there's science behind the fact that those words become reality. And so embrace this positive mindset piece. While sometimes it feels maybe a little salesy, maybe a little mental positivity, does it something that I can really embrace? Well, I challenge you and say that it should be. Trying these affirmations for yourself. I'd love to know if you try one, report back to me if it makes a difference for you. Now, there might have been something that I said that you just don't quite believe in about yourself quite yet. Is that true? Like I mentioned one, I'm organized and disciplined. Sometimes when I do this lesson, agents or brokers say, that's not me. I am not organized and disciplined. Sometimes I'll get that feedback. Okay, well, do you think if you say that affirmation out loud 3 times every morning when you get up, do you think you'll be more mindful about becoming more organized and disciplined in the future? So keep that in mind. Maybe there's something on this page that you just need to become better at. Well, challenge yourself to use it as an affirmation and report back at the end of a month or especially 60 to 90 days later, and you'll start seeing results. I really believe that. Irene mentioned in the chat, all my life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. That's a great one. That's a great one. Maybe I'll add that to my book next year. I really like that. So affirmations, choose them aloud and read them out loud daily. It mentions on the slide that I challenge us to read 5 of them out loud 3 times in a row. And there's also power in writing these out. So if any of us are ever writers or journalers, maybe we keep a journal about our lives, or maybe that's something you want to try to start out this year. There is power, truly scientifically proven power of writing out an affirmation like this 3 times on a piece of paper and really focusing on it throughout your day. You'll certainly be more mindful about it. Okay, on another page on our workbook, I have this page that helps you rank where you are. This is a really important part of business planning. As we kind of wrap up our first hour together here for the next 10 minutes, I'd like to work on this page with you and then really give you an opportunity to interact with me and come up with some ways to market yourself. That's what we're going to work on for the next few minutes. And so if you look at this page that kind of is it's kind of listed out with different squares where you can rank yourself. That's what it is in the workbook. I'm going to give you some ideas for each one of these categories of where you should be in your mind when you're thinking of where you are with each of these categories. I think it'll make sense as I go along. But the lesson out of this is to choose your top few priorities moving forward. And that's why on the workbook, there's a column for prioritizing which pieces you'd like to focus on most. And at the end of our session, or maybe at the end of when you spend some more time on this on your own, the goal would be to have probably 3 top priorities because there might be 20 items on this page. Well, in real estate, we can only focus on so much. And so make sure that we're just prioritizing the top. And then we move on. Once we've mastered that, we'll move on to the next one and just focusing on your top 3 priorities. So as I speak these out loud, you might jot down some notes of things that maybe it makes you think of or tools that you could start to embrace better. And I think that's kind of our activity for the next few minutes, if that sounds good to you. At the very top of the page, we talk about mindset and resilience. When you think of the things we just talked about, that was all about mindset. Mindset's a really important part of being a business owner, just like you and me. It's really important to keep positivity at the forefront of our mind because we deal with really unique situations in our transactions in our business all the time. There's no day that is exactly the same as the last day in real estate. That's the exciting part, but it can also be a challenge with our mindset. So, do you need to be kinder to yourself this year? That might be a question you ask yourself. And think about, how do I rank with mindset and resilience? Kind of tied into that is the next one on the page, which is time and priority management. Are there things that you could be doing better to maximize the use of your time? We mentioned using AI earlier as a way to do that. That's a great opportunity. Utilizing AI to work on your marketing messages or to help with contracts like we talked about earlier. What could you be doing that maximizes your time? Also, this business is full of distractions. Things pop up all the time that can pull us one direction or the other. In my life, sometimes that happens with social media. I'll end up scrolling on my phone, just looking at things all day, and I'll look up and think, wow, 2 hours went by. What happened with that time? Was meant to be doing something different in that time, but I just lost it. Once that hour's gone, it's gone. So ranking yourself on time and priority management. Now, in a similar vein, we have work-life balance. Have you heard that phrase before? Your work-life balance. How do you maximize both time with your family and loved ones and friends, but also be a successful business owner? That's work-life balance. And so how do you rank with that? Are you able to shut your mind off from real estate when you're spending time with your family? Sometimes that's difficult for agents and brokers, especially as we are making transitions like so many of us aligning with this brand just in the last few months. Well, that's a lot going on in our lives. How can we better maximize our balance there? I have a coaching client who sometimes has strain between her and her spouse. her and her husband sometimes get in a little, maybe not quite an argument, but just a little tiff over how much time she's spending working with her clients. One time her husband used a line that, gosh, you might as well be married to one of your clients instead of me. You're spending more time talking to them than you are with me. And that was a really hard pill for that agent that coaches with me to swallow, to realize, wow, I have really been working and working and working, but at the same time, her marriage is suffering, or her family and children are not getting the maximum amount of time that they can. And sometimes we have to course correct that. We're building this beautiful business, and having your spouse and family support is really an important piece. We can't be successful without them understanding that there will be moments of sacrifice, but also making sure that we have that balance. Ranking yourself on that now would be important. I also think about your lead generation consistency. Are you doing well with that? Are you generating leads for your business all the time? In this business, we have a lead time. Imagine if we owned a big factory. Maybe we made vehicles. We made the latest and greatest car, let's say. That was our factory. Well, we'd have to order the materials to make the car. We'd have to have the staff on hand and hired to do that. The materials have to be shipped to our factory. The assembly line has to be put together. There has to be quality control checks. Then that vehicle probably gets transported to somewhere that it's going to be sold. And just think about that. That's the lead time from start to finish. When the consumer purchases that vehicle, there's a certain amount of time that happens there. Well, it happens in real estate too. We start at one point, getting the lead. We incubate the lead. We keep them going. The conversation ends up turning into a real client from a customer. And then all of a sudden, we're helping them in a transaction and the deal closes. And sometimes that can go on for a long, long time. That's the inconsistency of our business. We can't control that. In my area, we just got a big snowstorm a couple of weeks ago, which I think is the opposite of what your temperatures have been. So I'm a little jealous. I might have to get on a plane and come out sometime. But we had a big snowstorm, and that really slows down our business. Are there things that happen in your market that are out of your control, like my snow example, that make your market go up and down, the seasonality, or also thinking about economic and socioeconomic changes that are happening in the world, or maybe even locally to you? Do those impact consumer behavior in the real estate market? Well, sure, but we can't control those things. What can we control? Well, lead generation consistency. That's why I have us rank it on that page. When I talk about the next one, it's the sphere and relationship building. I think of our sphere. Those are the people that we're connected with. Maybe you think of it as a circle of influence. And that's everybody. That's your friends and family. Those are any people that come across your path that might recognize you in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes I'll be, let's say, at the supermarket or the grocery store, and I'll just recognize somebody from, yeah, quite a ways away, way down on the other side of the store. And I'll say, oh my gosh, I know that person, but I don't have any of their contact information. Well, guess what? That's a lead. I just need to go interact with them and say, hey, it's so great to see you. I haven't seen you in all these years. And what are they naturally going to do? Well, they're going to ask about you and your life, and you'll have this opportunity to talk about real estate and the impact that you're making and kind of your elevator pitch, if you've ever heard that phrase. Well, that's your chance to get their information. And that is sphere and relationship building. I'll think of some other ways to do that as we keep going. What about marketing and brand identity? So many of us have aligned with this beautiful Realty One Group brand, but have we fully taken advantage of aligning our personal branding with that? When a consumer or somebody in your marketplace thinks of you, do they think of you as being with Realty One Group? Are you so deeply aligned with this brand that it's instant in somebody's mind when they think of you? Maybe it should be more. Speaking of, how do you market yourself? Is it your social media and online presence? When somebody searches for you, just let's say on a browser in their phone, when they search for you, are they easily able to find you? Is there easy information out there in the world that shows them that you're in real estate? That would be important going into the new year. Sometimes we'll have things written about ourselves in different places. Maybe we'll call it like a biography, just a little brief story about who we are and why somebody would want to work with us. It's a great time of the year to make sure that those bios, those biographies are up to date, that they're written the way that you would want them to be, especially with your number of years in the business or the number of transactions that you've done. Being able to really align those with the most up-to-date and current information would be important this time of year. As we get started working with more clients in the new year, I also think about how do we come across to those clients when they're ready to make a decision. One of the things that I teach agents to use a lot are presentations, and you'll notice that mentioned out on this page, buyer and seller presentations. Those are meant to be kind of consultation presentation materials that you're using with your clients when you meet with them for the first time. So if somebody is wanting to invest in real estate, well, I have a presentation that goes along with that that allows me not to present like I am to you today, but instead to have a guide to the conversation. It allows you to understand, okay, I didn't miss anything in this conversation because my presentation was not a script, but instead was a guide. It was the layout for the conversation, so to speak. So maybe think about how you could better maximize your presentation skills with your clients. Negotiation and client communication, client experience systems. We'll talk about some of those today. Transaction and financial management. That sometimes is a difficult part of being in real estate as a business owner, running our business like a business and being able to understand that, okay, my business has income, but it also has expenses. What I generate in commission revenue is not exactly what I put into my account every year to pay all of my bills as a person. And so understanding the business aspect of the finances of real estate are really important too. You'll notice on the page there's something called your CRM. That's your client relationship manager or your database manager, whatever you'd like to call it. It's whatever tool you're going to use to store all of that data. So if you met me, you would know my name, you would have my contact information, like where I live and my email address and probably my phone number, things like that. You might even get something like my birthday out of me. That'd be important to keep because then I'd be able to recognize when these special dates come along. You'd probably be able to say, okay, I closed a deal with Patrick on this day. And so now every year on that day, well, guess what that is? An anniversary that I can recognize with that client and stay in touch with them in that way. So utilizing your CRM, your client relationship manager, is a great ability to keep that data in one place. It'll remind you of important dates. It also often allows you to send out automated marketing messages. That would be important too. I'm looking at the last few on the page. Transaction and financial management we talked about, technology and tools, vision and accountability. Think of these things and how they impact you. And so maybe as we've talked about it, you've had the chance to kind of jot down some notes or maybe think of things and ideas that I've inspired you for today. Maybe plop one in the chat if there's something that I made you think of today as we keep talking. I want to talk just a few ways to avoid being a secret agent or a secret broker. You know, a lot of people in the world don't know that you're in real estate. How can we change that? How can we make it where you're not a secret agent? You know, you think of maybe a spy movie being a secret agent. Well, in this case, it's not so great to be a secret because our clients don't know where to find us if they don't know where to find us. And so instead, marketing is important. I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about things that hopefully relate perfectly with you and your business, and nobody's going to know your market like you do. And so tailoring these ideas to the way that you would do business will be ideal. And so here's the number one goal, that when somebody thinks of you, they think of real estate. We talked about that earlier. And then on the flip side, when somebody thinks of real estate, they think of you. You are the person that comes to mind. How can you better be that way? Well, marketing to your sphere of influence would be a great way to be. I have some marketing ideas here on the page that is included in the workbook. And with your sphere, it asks you, how will you consistently engage with your database to stay top of mind? And I've given you some ideas like calls or text messages or handwritten notes if that's relevant in your marketplace. There's also something like pop buys. Have you ever heard of those? Pop buys. It's giving a small gift of appreciation to somebody so they're able to know who you are and never forget about you. Irene mentioned to have an anniversary greeting with your client. That's great. That's a great way to engage with your sphere. When you know that somebody moved in a certain way, well, you know what? You can recognize them every year. I had bought a car many years ago. I don't even have that car anymore, but I had bought it, and the dealership that I had bought it from, it was just the place that I went to buy the car. And they were so good at staying in touch with me, almost too much. It kind of drove me crazy. So you don't want to be that person. But every year I would get a little text message and it would say, "Hey, it's year 3 with your car." And little do they know, I don't even have that car anymore, but I still get those messages. And it does make me smile, right? Now, that's not a human sitting behind there texting me that message, but it still makes me feel special that their automated messaging system sends that out to me every year. And so, what can you do that's like a VIP experience? Is there anything that you can share with your clients that makes them feel important? And that anniversary reminder would be good. And you can do those sorts of things on social media too. That's another idea on that page. And think about, are you sending out emails to people? Maybe that's relevant in your market. Are there things that you could provide them that are valuable? When you think of marketing yourself in real estate, you really want it to be valuable to the person that you're marketing to. So if me and my marketing is going out to the people that live in the community that I live in, well, I want it to be target marketed to the point where they feel that the marketing message is especially for them. So if I knew that they owned a home, I wouldn't want to send a campaign that talks about why they should stop renting and instead be a homeowner. No, they already are. So making sure that your marketing messages meet the right people. Now, that's another powerful piece of utilizing your CRM, your client relationship manager. You can group your database into special groups, and each group receives its own marketing message. That'd be a way to take your business to the next level and have multiple messages for different groups of people. If in your market you're using mail, like postcards or handwritten notes, those might be ways to engage. And that might be specific to different parts of the country. And you might keep an eye on what you get and how maybe you communicate. Victoria mentioned visiting past clients or inviting them over for coffee. I love that idea. And think about ways, there's the phrase breaking bread. Have you heard that? That's kind of what you do when you invite somebody for coffee. You're getting the opportunity to break bread with them and just really, oh, what would you call it? Almost fellowship with somebody, to be of like mind and talk to somebody that has maybe some of the same life experiences as you. And that's also really valuable data to have on your client when you feel you figure out about any children or pets or any loved ones that they're helping to take care of. Well, you get to know their story, and then you can have more genuine conversation. So when I find out somebody's pet name, where do I put it? In the CRM. That's the right answer. I know you said it to yourself right there. Anything you find out about your clients, you put it into your client relationship manager so you have it easy to access. Give me some other marketing ideas that you might be using this year as we wrap up this part of the conversation. Do you have any other clever ideas that you might utilize to market into the new year? Something that you've just been thinking about doing? I'll let you kind of breathe for a second, maybe myself as well, and let me know in the chat maybe something that you want to try into the new year that's new for you. Is there anything interestingly new? Oh, Irene, we haven't talked about open houses. That's really interesting too. Yeah, open houses are a great way to meet new people. And you know, over the years, I've held many, many open houses, and they are awesome. They're incredible to be able to meet people that you didn't know. Now, they can also be a waste of time. Could you see how that would be the case too? Where maybe somebody comes across your threshold and they may or may not be qualified for the property that you're showcasing. Well, you have the unique opportunity to figure out their needs and wants and not discount them just because they're not the right person. So that's interesting. All right, let's see what Kevin said here. Referral programs, incentivizing discount existing customers to refer others with discounts, freebies, cash rewards. Word of mouth is powerful in local markets. Isn't that true? Isn't that the nature of our business, word of mouth? And so, absolutely, being able to offer something, and it kind of goes back, I think it was even you, Kevin, that mentioned trust. And it goes back to trust, yeah? And when somebody that you've worked with in the past trusts you enough to refer their friends and family to you in the future, then you know you've made it in this business, yeah? And so incentivizing that is a great opportunity for you and the others that are watching to be able to really maximize the relationships that you already have. Around me, there's a stat that we talk about how many people know each other. And like, if you think about how many people do you know? Sometimes I can think, okay, I might have 5 really good friends. What about you? Like really close best friends. Some of us may have 10 or 15, maybe two that are our best friends. But then how many people do I really know that would recognize me? Well, hopefully that's growing all the time, but I may not know more than 100 people. Okay, well, if that's the case, there's a really good stat that I might inspire you with. Every person statistically knows 268 people. Can you believe that to be true? Like just out in the world, you just kind of know, maybe you're acquainted with 268 people. Okay, well, if that's the case, then the one person that you are best friends with, you are immediately connected to their database of 268 people. Because when you incentivize them or encourage them to place referrals with you, like Kevin was talking about, well, then you're immediately connected to those people that they're connected with. Am I making sense? I hope so. Let's see. Ronald mentioned doing more videos, like on Meta or TikTok. What a great idea that is. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about video. Sometimes we get in our own minds and we say, I don't want to be on video. Well, here's the thing. If I can be on video for an hour and 10 minutes so far with you watching me halfway across the world, I think you can convince yourself to be on video and talk about the real estate market or how much of an expert you are in real estate. I have full confidence in all of you to be able to get on camera. And I'm just here in my home office today, right here in Kansas City, Missouri, all the way across the world, encouraging you to get on video. And sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, I just don't like the way that I look. I just don't like the way that I sound on video. Well, I hate to break it to you, but everybody that's going to watch your video already knows what you look and sound like. And so encourage yourself to just post the video because I bet you'll get comments and reactions from it. And the third thing about videos is that sometimes we don't get immediately comments and reactions, but don't give up. It's persistence that pays off in this business. Do you know that to be true? It's your consistency and your persistent effort that ends up getting results. For a long, long time in my area, I did mail marketing. I would mail postcards, maybe half the size of a piece of paper to people in my area through the postal service. And in doing so, I expected to get calls from it every once in a while. Kind of an old school marketing tactic, but also you think about how many emails or social media posts that people see that they may not even be paying attention to. And so if I had a way to engage with them on something that they had to physically touch, well, then I thought, okay, that will be a good marketing campaign. And it didn't pay off for quite a while. But after about 12 to 18 months, over a full year of doing it consistently, every month I sent them something. Well, then I started to see results. And in my marketing, I branded myself as like the expert in that community. Okay. And had I ever sold a home there? Well, just one. But you know what? My branding matters. So I would believe it first, and I better make everybody else believe that I'm an expert in order to get that business. And by the end of the 12 to 18 months, people thought that I was the expert in that neighborhood. And so that's how powerful branding is. If the big, big brands of the world can convince you that they are the best product to buy, why can you and I not convince our clients that we're the best agent and broker to work with? So keep that in mind. You have as much marketing power in the palm of your hand with social media and videos and all of these incredible capabilities of marketing ourselves that 10 or 15 years ago, big companies paid big, big money to be able to market themselves in the way that we have access to right here in our hand for free. So utilizing that, you inspired me there, Ronald. I think you probably inspired some others that were watching today too. Okay, more networking and social events. I like that, Pam, because this is a relationship business, right? Absolutely. I love that. And I noticed Rob mentioned a question in there for Irene. So hopefully that got you thinking about marketing. I love this phrase up at the top of the slide. It says your network is your net worth. Have you heard that before? That means that the people that you know, your network, that's your livelihood. Your database, your client relationship manager full of people, that's your database. Well, that's your net worth. Everything for your business revolves around your network. And so today we've talked about doing more networking or social events with even other agents. I love that as well. But networking with potential clients, meeting new people all the time. That's the name of the game. Here are you and I meeting each other today for the first time. And that's the challenge of our lives. There's only so many times we can call or reach out to the same people and say, hey, do you know anybody wanting to buy or sell this month? And then what? You're going to call them again next month and ask the same question? Well, no. Instead, you've got to be meeting new people all the time, nurturing those relationships, thinking about people that you know already, or maybe that you could level up your database by filling in some of the communication gaps that you have with those people. There's some ideas there on the screen. One of my challenges and strategies that I have for you as we kind of get towards the end of our session today would be just committing to something that you can do. How many contacts can you make in a given week, let's say? And so on the slide here, I mentioned to you trying to reach out to 50 people in your database on a monthly basis. How can you do that? Well, you can reach out to them by personal phone call and text messages like it says on the screen. You can send them special notes or inviting them to coffee like we talked about in the chat. You can do pop buys with little gifts of appreciation, those VIP experiences that we kind of mentioned about today. Or even hosting events and sharing valuable market updates like you see on the slide. You're thinking of things that make a difference to your clients, that are adding value to their lives. That's what we do. It's a relationship-based business. And I love some of the ideas that we've talked about today. And when you do that, when you make consistent contact with people that are just in your life, people that love hearing from you, people that love to do favors for you, and that you can refer business back and forth with them, people love helping each other out. Don't you believe that to be true? If you got a call today from somebody that really mattered to you and they asked you for help building their business, don't you think you'd respond favorably? Well, guess what? That's the same thing that we're doing when we ask for those favors and relationships with the people that we know. And when you do those, when you make that consistent contact, you get consistent results. It kind of defies the ups and downs of our business that we talked about earlier. Like I mentioned, the snowstorm that I had nearby. Agents' businesses around me just were flat for a week because of the snow on the ground. Okay, well, we couldn't control that. But instead, I had coaching clients who were consistently making communication with people in their life. And guess what? They're busy doing business right now for us in a very historically slow period because of the season that we're in weather-wise. But instead, the agents that were consistent are the ones that are seeing results. Hopefully, that's our biggest inspiration of today. Making consistent contact with people, that's business planning. That's business planning, baby. You got it. You can do it. I love it. You also want to think about your digital brand because, like we were talking about with those videos, or I saw some chat about webinars or virtual tours, our branding matters. And how people find us on the internet in the digital world really, really matters. I know that we're using new technology all the time, but also go back to the basics and make sure that when somebody finds you on social media, that you look presentable, that you have it clear that you're a real estate agent or broker, that you are clearly ready to work with people. That's what it's all about with your digital world. And so I've given you some ideas on this slide, and it talks about not just sharing the listings that we're doing, but also giving you an idea of how, not just how, but why does somebody want to work with you? And like that line that's bold on the right side, when they see your marketing, they think, oh, that's the person I want to work with. That's the broker or the real estate agent that I want to be the one that earned, they deserve my business. They've earned it. I'll give you a tip there. You'll see it on the slide. It's all about consistency. Consistency beats perfection. If you're anything like me, sometimes I'm too much of a perfectionist. I want to do things exactly the right way. I want it to be perfect every single time that I do it. But sometimes we get paralyzed by perfection. Has that ever happened to you? And so instead, going out and doing the activities every day consistently, like we've talked about today, that beats perfection. I'd rather you be a little imperfect on the video that you post on TikTok or Meta, but instead have that out there, being generating leads and potential business from people. I'd rather you be a little imperfect than just waiting on perfection to come your way. That's what it talks about there. Nurturing your database is important. I've given you some ideas on this slide of maybe things that you can do, and I'll make sure that you have access to these slides as we wrap up today. And so you're able to maybe take some of the ideas. These are all in that workbook that we've talked about, like drip campaigns and seasonal tips for maintenance and all those different ideas that might be unique to your market. And what we're really highlighting here is the rule of reciprocity. Have you heard that? Maybe not the way I said it, but giving and taking. That's what that means. The rule of the give and the take. What I'm talking about is when you give value, you give information to people, well, then they feel more inclined to give back to you. It's the give and take. And so providing them value is so valuable to the people where then they feel like, you know what? Patrick shared all this information with me about real estate that when it's time to buy or sell, I want to choose to work with him. That's what's really important. And then think about some physical marketing. We talked about maybe printing, direct mailing, maybe that's relevant in your market. And then your community presence, ways to get more involved in the community, sponsoring local events, maybe hosting appreciation events. I can think in my area, we have big festivals and events that happen in my community that I want my name posted up on the sponsor board as much as it can be, because that helps people to see that I'm involved. I'm passionate about people that live in my community. I want to be able to make a difference in the area that I live in. And just like for you, getting involved locally can be really valuable too. And then finally, we talk about generating referrals. And referrals are the name of the game. Like for us to think, okay, how can we ask for that business? We were talking about that earlier in the chat. Being able to generate referrals through incentives, like what I think Kevin mentioned in the chat. Or can it also just be as simple as a question? Do you know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling this year? Or if you had to think about somebody that has just gotten married or maybe had a child, or that is maybe growing out of the home that they live in, that's a great way to incubate somebody's thoughts enough to give you a referral. And thinking also, I know it's kind of cut off down at the bottom, but it mentions ways to create a VIP experience for clients, ways that you can treat them a little bit of a higher level to be able to generate leads. That'd be interesting to keep an eye on too. In my workbook, I've worked with Rob and Paulina. Thank you very much for sharing some really important engagement dates for you and your market. And so in that workbook, I've kind of jogged our memory of holidays that are most relevant for you and your marketplace. And utilizing those holidays for our marketing is really, really valuable. All year long, you are given a reason to interact with somebody. And so utilizing that calendar of holidays is so, so valuable. So thank you, Paulina, for helping me come up with that. And check that out on there. And then here are our goals as we wrap up today. It's been really just so much fun spending time with you. I feel like this time just flew by. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have and that you've been able to take away some key ideas and things that you can implement. The next part is all in your hands. We've come up with the thoughts. We've maybe inspired a few new ideas as we've talked together today. And the next part is up to you. You get to implement it. And so maybe we'll throw that workbook in the chat just one more time to make sure everybody's gotten access to it. But now your challenge, which ought to be really exciting to you, you'll be able to take this workbook, fill in the pages that we've discussed today, and you'll probably come up with incredible ideas that we didn't even have the time to discuss. That's the really beautiful thing about being in real estate, is that the way that you and I do it might be completely different, and that's okay. We get to create our own journey and chart our own path, but it is in our hands to do that. And so using that workbook, and as part of that workbook at the very end, when you've got it all filled out, think to yourself, what is my priority for the next 90 days? Are there things that I need to make sure get done by the end of April, let's say? And if that's the case, well, putting those deadlines onto our calendar or whatever time management system that you're going to use to stay accountable to it is really, really important. Now, I have a big calendar. You can't see it. It's on the other side of my monitor today. And it's got all of my marketing deadlines coming up for the next 2 months. And it's got a little sticky note that goes on each spot. So I'm able to change it based on the month. And if something kind of gets delayed, I can kind of keep on top of that. You have able the ability to buy calendars like that are easy to edit and change. Or maybe you're going to use a digital calendar. I use one that is through my email provider that I'm able to just time block pretty much my entire day. When I start the morning, I know what my day is going to look like. That's what a marketing calendar and accountability calendar looks like. And also recognizing, what do you need help with? Is there something that maybe your broker owner can help you with more? Or maybe you are that broker owner. Is there something that the great Realty One Group team here in the Philippines can help you with? Will that be incredible to lean into them as well? So recognizing the power of Rob and his knowledge, and even bigger, Kuba and all of those incredible leaders at Realty One Group, how can you better take advantage of what they've given you access to? That's accountability for yourself. And coming up with that plan is really vital too. And I want to give a chance to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to plop that in. Let me know if you've got anything that is question related for today. Give me an idea. Give me at least one good question as we wrap up today. I specialize in answering questions, so give it to me and let me know what you think. Let me know. I can see somebody typing. I can feel it. It's coming through. What's a good question that you've got today that maybe you're plopping in the chat? I think my
Patrick,
question.
what a great session, Patrick.
Well, thanks,
Very,
Rob.
very,
Yeah, appreciate
very,
that.
very impressive. Very impressive.
And Kevin, I appreciate you mentioning that transformational learning session. That's great. That's my goal for us, and that's really what I want to say to you is a great big thank you. Thank you for the time that we've spent together just in a short, an hour and a half or so together to really, this is a mastermind. What an incredible ability to hop on one of these once a month and be able to learn from each other. That happened today. I learned as much from you and was inspired as much from you as I hope that you were from me. And that's the beautiful part of this community, this network that you are a part of. Not just there in the Philippines, but all across the world. We're able to think share. We're sharing ideas globally. What a powerful thing. So a big thank you for you to tune in. And Rob put that workbook in the chat again if you need it. But anyway, that's me. That's my story. How about it?
Patrick, just an amazing session. What I really gleaned from this, and I've heard it before, but the way you presented it to me today was very unique because you do see this, and the part that I really never got over 35 years is the now it had to do with the secret agent, but also how people perceive you.
Hmm.
So if you're not fully engaged and because of your social media presence or how you interact with your database or your clients, they perceive you as being part-time or hobbyist. That's what you used, hobbyist. And I
Hmm.
never thought of perception on that.
Hmm.
So can you kind of address that a little bit? Because we definitely don't want our clients or the public or the people that we're working with to see that this is just a hobby. Because if it's a hobby, they aren't going to listen to you seriously. They aren't going to
Hmm.
reach out to you. So how do you overcome being perceived as a hobbyist, as a real
Yeah.
estate professional?
What a great challenge that is, yeah. People don't understand real estate like you and I do. I find that all the time. They don't understand how we get paid or how we negotiate deals. It's a very confusing industry to the average person out in the world. And so we almost have to over communicate what we do, over communicate our value and the things that we're proud of in our business. Before I got on the call tonight, I posted about sharing this message with all of you in the Philippines. What an exciting opportunity for me to be able to do that. I'm eternally grateful for that. But like, what an interesting thing that somebody in my marketplace has no idea that I'm talking to agents and brokers halfway across the world right now. And so being able to share that message, it's not about bragging about myself. It hopefully comes across very humble, right? And that's what we want for all of our marketing. But at the same time, they don't know what they don't know. And so reminding our consumers and our database that we are active in the business would be the best way to counter somebody seeming part-time. And it's difficult to do that when it's just a hobby for us in our own minds, right? So the first thing that we have to do is to shift our mindset and to treat this truly as a business, which what is what I find to be the hardest challenge for a lot of agents and brokers is they see this as something fun. We get to have a lot of fun in real estate. That is true, but it's also a business, and a business takes planning and strategy. And you know what? It takes more than everything, everybody. It takes mastering your time, calendaring, all of the things that we've talked about, setting deadlines to those. Because if we forgot to market ourselves for 4 weeks, that's when it's easy for the consumers to forget that we're in real estate and seem part-time, like what you were talking about, Rob. So I think that's a great call out.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah has a question here. Now, Sarah, you're from Davos City. Is that correct, Sarah? And Sarah, if you can read this chat here, says, today reminded me that alignment is very important as a real estate agent. When my values, intentions, and actions are aligned, everything flows better. Clients trust more, decisions become clearer. Very nice. And work feels lighter. I like how you worded that, lighter. It's not
Mhm.
just about selling properties, it's about serving with integrity, showing up in the right heart, and being aligned with the purpose. When I'm
Hmm.
aligned, the right clients, opportunities, and results follow. Wow, that's powerful, isn't it,
That
Patrick?
is powerful. Yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
What
That's
a great
amazing. Yeah.
insight, Sarah.
And Sarah, what a great way to explain what you do to a client and to be able to include messaging like that in your marketing. It's not just a sales job that we have, but no, we're making a real difference with the people that we're working with. So taking some of that language and throwing that in your marketing is great. I love that.
And Pam has a question here, Patrick. Her
Mhm.
question is, can you share your daily habit
Hmm.
or routines that keeps you on track even when things don't go as planned?
Oh, I
Oh
like
boy,
that, Pam.
things don't always go as planned, do they, Patrick?
That's like an everyday thing, right? Like every day we
Mhm.
almost get sidetracked for what we need to be doing. Or, we'll have fires that start in our life. Yeah, something that we need to deal with right away that becomes a distraction. Well, Pam, I think the biggest thing that I could teach us to do that I have started to become, I think, really good at is prioritizing activities. Which activities lead you to the best results? Should I spend more time on social media or should I limit the amount of time that I do that? So I can better maximize the time that I'm out working in the business field with my clients. So maybe almost charting out, maybe listing out everything that you do every single day that has to be done on a daily and a weekly and a monthly basis, and then prioritizing those. Which one is a priority number one that I will never let get off the schedule? I'll never let a distraction get in the way. Maybe that's a way to prioritize it. And then you've got level two items. Those are items that are really important. If I don't get them done that day, maybe I need to make sure they get done by the end of the week. And then there's level three priorities like my chores around the house, or maybe it's my social media scrolling or replying to this marketing email that I received. Those are important in their own way, but they should not be used to put aside a number one or a two. So almost just prioritizing your life has been successful to me. In my world, I have a lot of things going on, just like all of us. I have clients over here that I'm helping to buy and sell. I have real estate agents and brokers that have hired me as their business coach that I'm working with on a weekly basis. I have family obligations that I have to help with. I was telling Rob about an elderly friend of mine that I'm helping to kind of buy groceries and keep an eye on. There's many things that we get pulled away from in different directions in life. And so instead, finding those priorities and almost mentally chunking them out into different items might be successful for you. But the best thing, Pam, my really long answer that I can condense into 1 or 2 words, maybe three, use a calendar. That would be the best thing that I could do. Is my calendar is my life. If it's on the calendar, it's going to happen. If it's not on the calendar, I'm probably not going to remember about it. I'm not going to be able to prioritize about it. So using a calendar might be the best takeaway.
So
Great
Patrick,
question.
that leads me to a little bit of a follow-up here. What about um, we have interruptions during our day or during our week that maybe doesn't align with our focus in our business, that really we should say no to.
Mm,
And also to piggyback off that, a type of buyer or a type of seller that we should say no to,
mm,
um, that might eat a lot of our time or create more
mhm,
distractions. And how do you handle situations like that?
mm. That is hard, isn't it? Finding that discipline to say no. I
Mhm.
think, at least in my world, I'm kind of a yes guy. When somebody asks me to do something, I want to say yes. And when I have to say no, I feel really bad about it. But that's a skill to learn, is to not feel guilty about saying no. And there are things that we should say no to. There are clients that we should say no to. I'll tell you a brief story. I think of this client that I showed homes to for quite a long time. She was one of my teachers in school, and as I grew up, we stayed in contact, and she was ready to buy and sell a home, and so I was excited. And I worked with her for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years to show homes to her. And I knew someday, everybody, she was going to buy a house from me. Yeah, well, I didn't know then because that didn't happen. Instead, she found a home that was not represented by an agent, and she bought that home without using me as her agent. And so she bought it without anybody. Now they had a home to sell. Okay, that was exciting to me. At least I would still be able to help with that, right? Well, wait a minute. Nope. Her niece bought the house from her. Her relative bought the home, and there was no real estate agent involved in that transaction. So I kind of got cut out of that deal as well. And yeah, I got to sell the niece's house, and that was the lowest price home out of all of them. I still appreciate the business, but you can see that I got kind of the short end of the stick on that whole transaction. So my point of this lesson is like, I showed and showed and showed homes to this buyer that I was really good friends with, but looking back on it, I can recognize the warning signs that they had very low motivation. They weren't hungry to buy in that moment. They just enjoyed seeing houses. It was kind of fun for them. And so you could probably think of clients, even though you might be showing condos rather than homes like that, or whatever that might be for you. But uh, managing that time, yeah, managing those clients that come across our paths that just are kind of a time suck. I mean that respectfully, but we know them, where they end up being a waste of our time, like in that transaction. But do we ever know that for sure? Well, no, you don't always know that that's going to be the case. I've also had clients that maybe I've cut loose and said, this isn't going to work out. That might have been a great transaction that I missed out on. So it is a real balancing act. How do you know? It's almost like you have to trust that intuition, that gut feeling of whether you think that client will be good for you or not. But I guess my I'm really good at answering these questions with really long phrases, but what I would really condense it down to is knowing your value and knowing when it's right to say no, and treating this as a business, and understanding, yes, this is fun. Yes, we get to enjoy our time with our clients most of the time, but also we have to know when it's right to say no and cut our losses.
Mhm. And in the Philippines, the culture is it's a beautiful culture, beautiful people with great values, community, and family. And so sometimes saying no or being a little bit direct is difficult for them.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, and so there's a polite way of addressing that, and a compassionate way of addressing it, not to be cold.
Yeah.
Uh, but do you feel that when you do say no, if someone wants to list a home, but you know it's never going to sell for that price, but walking
Hmm.
away from it, do you feel that shows more professionalism for who
Hmm.
you are as a business person in front of the
Oh.
clients?
Yeah, definitely, Rob. Yeah, yeah. That
Mhm.
it shows everybody else in the world that working with you is a privilege, not something that
Mhm.
they can take for granted. And keep that in mind. When you choose to work with a client, they should be honored to work with you in a respectful way. But you are a professional. You are the one that has worked and worked and worked to get to this point in your career, and you deserve the respect of a professional. Sometimes I compare us to a doctor or an attorney, a lawyer, or a financial planner. You know, we are that level of professional. We don't have that skill set necessarily that a doctor does, but we should manage our time and our communication and all of those things just as much as if we were that doctor that somebody was going to have an appointment with. And so maybe comparing yourself to that not in an egotistical way, right, Rob, but in a way that just shows you that you deserve as much respect. And it is difficult. It's difficult for me to say no to people, trust me, but it is a very powerful feeling. Wouldn't it be awful to have a home for sale with the sign out advertising it and advertising all over the internet? And it's on the market, it's on the market, it's on the market, and it never sells. Well, then what do you become? The agent that can't sell properties. Yeah, you wouldn't want that to happen. And so be smart about the listings that you take. That's a great point.
Mm, very good. Well, Patrick, this has been just a wonderful time. 90 plus minutes of great information, and I've really enjoyed it. And you and I have sat down on multiple occasions. We've had lunch together with our good friend Joseph Pinter, who's a broker owner with Realty One Group in Kansas City. And but it's my first time to see your full presentation, and I am really just overwhelmed and grateful that you took the time to share this valuable insight with the wonderful real estate professionals here in the Philippines. And before we end, is there anything else that you would like to say or to share with the group?
No, just a big thank you. Thank you all for listening to me. It's fun to think how when I was 19 years old, I would never have imagined being able to talk to agents and brokers all across the world and here in the Philippines today. So thank you for all of you. And Rob, thanks to you for your partnership. I'm excited for maybe more to come and more opportunity to
Mhm.
business plan with all of us in the future. So maybe stay tuned for some of that. But and thank you for all of your kindness in the chat there. I never take for granted the opportunity to get to share my message with agents. And that's what I love doing all the time now. That's what I do full time. I've been in your shoes sometimes as real estate coaches. There are coaches of the world that maybe have never sold real estate. That's okay, right? We can all be good teachers in our own way. But I've been there. I've done the things that I'm teaching you to do. And hopefully that's how the passion comes across as well. So just a big thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. And I'll end by saying that Patrick will know Filipinos, first or second generation. He will have clients who will know Filipinos that might have homes in the Philippines, or he will know clients that are retiring, U.S. citizens that are retiring and moving to the Philippines. I would encourage you to stay in touch with them. The person that keeps in front of him over time period will, at some point in time, he will refer a buyer or a seller to you. If it's a seller, it's an exclusive listing. If it's a buyer, it's an exclusive buyer because he has great relationships. So my goal to share this with you is I don't want Patrick to think of me. I want him to think of one of you. So I challenge you to stay in touch there. There's a lot of business, a lot of Filipinos in the States, and some of them have been there 20 or 30 years, and now they've had great income, and they're going to buy that second home back in the Philippines. And Patrick is definitely going to run across those. So be top of mind in his mind when he does talk to someone from the Philippines, and he knows exactly who he's going to send that business to. So great show. I enjoyed it. June Ray, I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing you in Davao next week or this weekend.
Yes,
We're going to
Rob.
have a great time. And and I are just super excited to meet you and your wife. We're going to have a great grand opening for Realty One Group ICP, an absolutely terrific broker owner. She is fabulous. She's got the biggest heart there is, Irene. And we're going to have a blast. And I've had an opportunity to meet some of her agents online, super highly professional people. So June Ray, we're going to have a good time this weekend
I'll
coming
see you,
up.
Rob. Thank you,
And
Patrick.
and this afternoon we have a grand opening with Realty One Group Mark Pro right here in Baguio City, the summer palace of the Philippines, I think they call it, or something to that effect. So uh, we'll sign off, and everyone have a fabulous day.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Patrick.